Did you know that you can decipher other people's thoughts using just 3 simple strategies? Let's take a look at what these strategies are and how to apply them. These skills are essential to overcoming any circumstance because by mastering them, interpreting and understanding other people's thoughts is greatly simplified. Consider a story with a Stoic theme that illustrates how to decipher other people's thoughts. The story unfolds like this. In an ancient village lived 2 brothers. The older one was blind and spent most of his time at home, while the younger one practiced farming. Often they found their field being ravaged by wild animals. The younger brother, concerned about this situation, finally came up with a solution. He thought, why not ask my blind brother for help in scaring the animals away from the field? He could be in the midst of the crops and alert upon hearing any sound of animals, thus protecting our crops. After some thought, the younger brother built a small hut in the field and moved the older brother there, explaining, "Brother, if you hear any suspicious noise, just shout and scare the animals away. This will save our crops." The older brother agreed to the suggestion and began to fulfill his role in the field. Every time he heard animal noises, he would give a shout to scare them away, and so it went on for several days. One day, a deer quickly crossed the field, damaging part of the fence before running away. Shortly thereafter, the king arrived on the scene in pursuit of the deer. The monarch turned to his blind brother and asked if he had seen the deer pass by. The blind brother replied, "Your Majesty, I blind brother," and asked him if he had seen a deer passing by. The blind brother replied, "Your Majesty, I am blind. How could I have seen a deer? However, I can assure you that the creature that escaped from my field is not worth your hunting. You are wasting your efforts." The monarch was stunned by the blind brother's statements and questioned him about his knowledge. He had doubts whether the blind brother was telling the truth, for in spite of his blindness, he had expressed an opinion about the importance of the deer. To this, the blind brother replied, "Your Majesty, the creature you are pursuing is actually a pregnant fawn. I don't recall a monarch ever pursuing a pregnant deer. Therefore, I believe that your diligence is futile and not worth wasting your efforts on her." The king was amazed to hear this and could not understand how the blind man could determine the condition of the fawn. He wondered how a man without sight could be so sure. Prompted by a desire to make sure of this, he ordered his commander, "Commander, capture this animal alive. I need to see if it is indeed pregnant. Blind brother seems very convinced, and I need to investigate this. Please go and confirm her condition." The commander received the king's orders and set off. When he returned, he confirmed to the king that the blind brother was right and that the fawn was indeed pregnant. The king, full of amazement, could not understand how the blind man knew that the fawn was pregnant. He wondered how the blind man could have known it, how he could have been so sure. Questioning the blind brother to clear up the mystery, the king said, "I may doubt that you are indeed blind, but I have come to ask you a question. Are you willing to give me a truthful answer?" To this, the blind brother replied, "Your Majesty, ask anything and I will answer with complete sincerity." The monarch said, "You are a man of outstanding insight and seem to have a deep understanding of various matters. I summoned you today to find out if my consort is cheating on me." The blind brother replied, "Your Majesty, what made you ask such a question? Your union has been long-lasting for many years. Why do such doubts arise in your mind now?" However, the king insisted, saying, "You must answer this question or else you will face the death penalty." The blind brother expressed, "Your Majesty, to give you the answer you seek, I need you to grant one request of mine." The king asked, "What is it about?" The blind brother replied, "For that I need to be alone in a room with your wife." At first the king was displeased with this suggestion, but finally agreed and ordered his commander to leave the blind brother and the queen alone in the room. At this point, the blind brother expressed his intention to make physical contact with the queen. The queen reacted with anger to such a statement and attacked the blind brother with violence, using her limbs and all of her strength. After the conflict, the blind man was able to escape and appeared before the king. The blind brother then informed the king, "Your Majesty, your wife is not faithful to you." The enraged king drew his sword and marched toward the queen, warning that any lie would result in her execution. The question was about the queen's fidelity, to which she replied, "Your Majesty, you may take my life, but I have not been faithful." The king was relieved, confirming the truthfulness of his blind brother's words. When he heard this, he quickly approached the blind brother and asked him how he knew about his wife's adultery. The blind man replied, "Your Majesty, it was very simple. I mentioned to your wife my desire to touch her, and her reaction was so furious that she began to attack me. Instead of rejecting, she chose violence, touching me in the process. Now tell me, how can a woman be faithful who reacts this way?" Impressed by the blind man's insight, the king exclaimed, "Your insight is admirable. Let's continue. Give the correct answer to the other question, and you will be set free," the king asked. "Tell me, am I really the son of my father or of another man?" To which the blind brother replied, "Your Majesty, why are you troubled by such a question? The origin of your parents is irrelevant. You are the lord of this land. Let such a concern dissolve." Nevertheless, the king insisted, "No, I need a concrete answer. Otherwise, doubt will consume me. I want to know the truth." The blind brother replied, "Your Majesty, I can reveal your lineage to you right now, but first I need your promise that you will not react with anger." The king assured, "I promise not to be angry with you." Then the blind brother revealed, "You are indeed your father's son, but you have also been influenced by a greedy merchant." Hearing this, the king immediately turned to his mother and asked, "Mother, please tell me the truth. Am I really my father's son or another? If you don't tell me, I will renounce my existence right here." The king's mother replied, "Son, you are indeed your father's descendant, but you are also under the influence of a greedy merchant." The relieved king immediately returned to his blind brother and asked, "How did you know I was influenced by the greedy merchant?" The blind man replied, "Your Majesty, I have answered many of your questions correctly, but I still have not received any reward. From this, I have concluded that you are prone to greed." The king laughed and said, "What you ask for will be given to you, but explain how you distinguish right from wrong, how you can give such precise answers." The blind brother said, "Your Majesty, my blindness is congenital. If I had sight, I could easily understand other people's thoughts. The mind has its own language reflected in bodily movements. By observing eyes, lips, and gestures, one can understand what is going on in a person's mind. But being blind, I perceive through action. To understand something, I set a person a task, and based on its accomplishment, I understand what is going on in his mind." The king asked, "Then I too can understand the thoughts of others?" To which the blind brother replied, "No doubt you too can discern the thoughts of others, but first you must work on yourself. This work involves quieting your mind and focusing on the present. To do this, today I will show you 3 simple and accessible methods. First of all, put a like and subscribe to the channel. If you like this type of content, we have a lot of wisdom for you. Moving on. Eyes and body expressions are the messengers of these emotions. In moments of sadness, they reflect that feeling, while a hearty laugh that makes the eyes light up and lifts the cheeks signifies happiness, goodwill, and generosity. Eyes play a key role. When they squint and sparkle, you can trust that the joy is genuine. Also, pay attention to the area between the eyebrows where wrinkles form under tension, often expressing confusion, intense reflection, or an effort to understand something complex. Your Majesty's second technique is to observe nonverbal language. The body and hands can convey much without words, creating a secret language that expresses desire and feeling through subtle gestures. Imagine someone speaking to you, drumming their fingers, or creating a repetitive sound by tapping for some reason. This could indicate boredom, hurry, or a desire to end the conversation. I remember once when I met someone who was very interested in selling me something. His fingers were tapping rapidly on the item, indicating his disinterest or anxiety to finish our conversation. In contrast, a person who remains still and adopts a relaxed stance shows attention and concern. This behavior reflects genuine interest and a desire to listen more. I remember my insightful teacher often adopting this posture, even though he was calm. He was leaning in with interest, showing his desire to go deeper into the discussion. People who constantly manipulate their face during conversation can give you clues about their thoughts. These gestures often indicate anxiety, intense thought, or discomfort. Also, hand movements can reveal a lot. For example, if someone quickly touches their nose during a conversation, it may suggest that they are lying or not being completely honest. Paying attention to how they react to our words and understanding what is going on in their minds can help interpret their thoughts. Before proceeding, however, it is crucial to focus your attention on the present. This is the only way you will be able to observe all of these behaviors, interpret them, and understand what is going on in the other person's mind. If you get stuck thinking about the past or worrying about the future, you will never be able to grasp the body language of the other person and therefore will not understand their thoughts. Now, Your Majesty, let's move on to the third technique. Before I reveal it, it is important that you focus your mind. By directing our attention to the present moment, we can understand the thoughts of others, especially when they are also focused on the here and now. It is important to shift our minds to the present to catch their thoughts. Continuing with the third technique, the blind brother said, "O king, to understand someone's thoughts, observe their voice." The voice can give away a lot about what a person is thinking and feeling. Fast, disorganized speech can give away a lot about what a person is thinking and feeling. Fast and disorganized speech can indicate nervousness, anxiety, or agitation. On the other hand, someone who speaks slowly and relaxed is probably calm and collected. In addition, pay attention to the tone of voice. A loud and shrill tone may express anger or frustration, while a soft and calm tone suggests peace and relaxation. I remember talking to someone who claimed to be happy, but his voice was strained and loud. This contradiction caused me to doubt his true joy. The voice can also express emotion, as in cases of sighs, screams, or hearty laughter. Paying attention to how words are articulated and tone is used, and you will have no trouble understanding the thoughts of any person. However, remember that you must first focus your mind on the present. Only in this way will you be able to observe, interpret, and perceive what is going on in the other person's mind. In this way, you will be able to recognize their thoughts and enrich your existence. Thank you for watching this video, and I hope you find these tips valuable. Consider sharing it with those who need to see it and express yourself in the comments, for wisdom must be shared in order to flourish. Comment, "I am a Stoic," and I will know you have reached the end. Now, do you choose the path of Stoicism, right or left? You have 2 Stoicism videos to enjoy. See you next time. In this video, we're going to look at 9 things a man shouldn't do to women. Let's get started. 1. Don't change who you are to fit into someone else's existence. Take a Stoic approach to your life. As the shoe that stings teaches, discomfort is unnecessary and counterproductive. Each step taken in pursuit of another takes you away from your own path, slowing your natural progression and overshadowing your personal goals. Seneca, the wise Stoic, warned that trying to be in many places at once actually means not being anywhere. By living up to other people's expectations, you lose yourself. Interrupt this tendency. Don't dissolve into someone else's rainbow light. Instead, celebrate your own hues with pride. Don't shape your life according to the desires of others, but move on your own path while staying true to yourself. Your existence does not revolve around obligations to others. It is meant to be the authorship of your own great story, not someone else's. 2. Don't allow your existence to be consumed by over-obsession with another person. Don't turn your life into a satellite caught in the orbit of someone else. Over-obsession with another being causes you to lose your vision of the future. Your dreams and uniqueness begin to fade away, overshadowed by that person's needs and desires. It's like giving all your water away when you yourself are thirsty. Marco Aurelius, the eminent Stoic philosopher, taught that by finding peace with yourself, you find peace with the world. Focusing your life on someone else violates your being, turning you into a mere shadow living under their rules and losing appreciation of your own worth. Free yourself from their influence. Stop being the moon orbiting their planet and start shining as your own sun, lighting your way. Your life should not be a secondary role in the story of another. You are the protagonist of your existence. Always remember that, and don't let anyone else outshine your radiance. 3. Don't let anything or anyone diminish your mental well-being or happiness. Sacrificing your mental health and happiness for another person is akin to setting fire to your own house to keep them warm. It's destructive and pointless. By neglecting your mental health for the satisfaction of another, you give them power over your happiness. This situation leads to endless efforts to make someone happy while you wallow in sadness. It's important to take distance and regain control. Your mental health and happiness are paramount and should not be jeopardized or traded. Stop sacrificing yourself in someone else's story and take the lead in your own. Protect your peace and happiness with determination and strengthen your mental fortress. Don't let anyone usurp your joy. You are the master of your own mind and should not allow anyone to subjugate you. 4. Don't neglect your relationships with friends and family because of another person. Pulling away from them because of an obsession with someone else is like cutting down the branches of the tree that supports you. Each friend and family member represents a vital branch that has contributed to your support and growth. If you begin to distance yourself from them, you not only lose friends, but you weaken your support system. Plato, in his wisdom, compared people to the earth. They can nourish you and help you grow, or they can hinder your development and cause you to wither. Separating from loved ones in search of another person's approval is choosing the path of hardship and loneliness. It is important to reconnect with these fundamental people in your life. Care for and value your supportive network. Your friends and family are unique and form the pillar of your existence. They are your foundation and support system. Maintain closeness with those who have always supported and helped you, as they are integral to your well-being and happiness. Give us a like and subscribe to the channel if you like this kind of content. We have a lot of wisdom for you. 5. Do not devote excessive time to the other person, as if it is never enough. This is tantamount to throwing your precious minutes into a bottomless abyss. Every moment you invest in them is an irretrievable fragment of your life. Time is your most precious resource, and should not be frivolously wasted to satisfy the demands of another. The Stoic philosopher noted that it is not that our lives are short, but that we waste most of them. Devoting all of your time to someone else means missing out on the best moments of your existence. Seize your time It's yours, not theirs. Don't let one person become the absolute center of your life. Seek a healthy balance. Be absolute center of your life. Seek a healthy balance. Use your time wisely, value it, and prioritize activities that make you happy, allow you to grow, and are completely fulfilling. Remember, you have control over your time. You don't need to waste it on someone who may not appreciate its value. Your time is a gift to you. Use it in a way that reflects your own value and priorities. 6. Don't reveal every aspect of your past, especially your most difficult moments. Sharing every detail of your past with someone is like revealing every secret and every challenge you've faced. Your past, and particularly the most difficult parts of it, are personally yours. It is your unique story that has shaped you through difficult times. It is not something you should divide into easy to analyze or entertain others. Friedrich Nietzsche, a profound thinker, observed that in moments of weakness, old ideas and problems we thought we had overcome can revive to challenge us. By talking about all your past secrets, you risk reviving old conflicts, opening yourself up to being hurt or manipulated. Keep your secrets to yourself. It's not necessary for everyone to know the intimate details of your life. Share what you feel is necessary. But remember that the fundamental parts of your story are what strengthens and protects you. Don't transfer that protection to another person. Be careful who you entrust your life story to. It is yours and not just entertainment for others. Your past is an integral part of who you are. They are representations for someone else's pleasure. 7. Do not agree to do something just for the satisfaction of others if it goes against your preferences or principles. This is like wearing a mask that makes it hard to breathe for the sole purpose of making someone else happy. By agreeing to an activity you don't like, you are not only ignoring your own preferences, but you are betraying yourself. It's like hiding your favorite colors under the ones you don't like. Albert Camus, a profound thinker, once said that for true happiness, you shouldn't worry too much about pleasing others. When you start doing things just because you feel obligated to, rather than because you really want to, you begin to feel bitter and lose self-respect. So take that mask off. Don't automatically agree to everything. Learn to say no to things you don't like. Your life is not a stage where you play for the satisfaction of others. Be authentic. Be honest with yourself. If something doesn't feel right, don't do it. Live your life by your own rules, not the way others want you to. Remember that you are the protagonist of your own story, not just a minor character in someone else's life. 8. Don't let fear of loneliness dictate your decisions. Making decisions based on fear, especially fear of loneliness, is like wandering in the dark with no purpose. By making decisions out of fear of loneliness, you may find yourself in situations or places you never desired. It is important to realize that being alone does not mean you feel lonely. Aristotle, the great philosopher, argued that knowing oneself is the beginning of all wisdom. Dedicate time to understanding and appreciating your own company. That way, when you choose to be with someone, it will be because that person brings value to your life, not because you are afraid to be without them. 9. Don't ignore the importance of celebrating your accomplishments no matter how insignificant they may seem. Often we focus on satisfying others and meeting their expectations, forgetting to recognize our own successes. Every step forward, no matter how small, is a victory and deserves to be celebrated. Epictetus, the Stoic philosopher, taught that we should not only seek the admiration of others, but also admire ourselves. Take time to appreciate your efforts and accomplishments. Celebrating your progress helps build self-confidence and emphasizes the importance of your personal journey. Your accomplishments belong solely to you and deserve to be recognized. Remember that life is not just about achieving a goal, it's about the value of the journey and recognizing your own work along the way. From a Stoic perspective, it is important to remember the power of one's choices, and the importance of living in harmony with true nature. Stoics, such as Epictetus, taught that our happiness and peace comes from within, not from external circumstances or the approval of others. You have the power and wisdom to make the right decisions for yourself, even if they don't align with the desires of others. As you make your way through life, focus on developing your own virtues, such as wisdom, courage, justice, and self-control. These are the real milestones of a fulfilling life, not how well you conform to someone else's expectations or desires. Remember that you have the freedom to choose your own path, embrace your uniqueness, and write your story based on your values and beliefs. You don't have to compromise your integrity or sacrifice your well-being for others. Instead, take control of your life by making decisions that reflect your true self. The Stoics believe that true freedom comes from realizing that our thoughts and actions are up to us. So when you feel pressured to conform, give up your time, or share more than you are comfortable with, remember that you have the power to choose differently. You don't have to live by someone else's script. You have the right to create your own, based on what is truly important to you. It's time for change, for making decisions and promises to stop doing things that don't resonate with you and work on becoming the best version of yourself. I'm grateful you watched this video, and I hope you find these tips valuable. Have you ever heard the saying, "Don't set yourself on fire to warm another"? It's a powerful reminder related to ancient Stoic wisdom about the importance of balancing kindness and self-care. However, in the modern rush to be perceived as kind, to always be the one who gives, many have distorted the noble act of kindness into a self-destructive habit. We are often persuaded to go further, to push our boundaries for the sake of others. But what is the cost? The truth is that too much kindness, when it drains your own resources, energy, and well-being, is not a virtue, but a path to destruction. Many have lost their way by giving so much of themselves that they feel empty, unappreciated, and depleted. This is a modern tragedy, where the best intentions lead to the worst results. Stoicism shows us another way, a way to be generous without losing ourselves, a way to be kind but also kind to ourselves. It teaches us the art of balanced generosity, ensuring that our actions enrich the lives of others while protecting our own well-being. In this video, we'll reveal how Stoic principles can help you set healthy boundaries so that your kindness becomes a source of strength rather than depletion. We'll explore how to give without losing, love without hurting, and be there for others without disappearing from your own life. Let's begin. 1. Don't set yourself on fire to warm others. Excessive kindness can become a trap, something Marcus Aurelius, the wise Stoic philosopher, would have warned against. Visualize yourself as someone who is always rushing to help others, never saying no. It is as if you are giving away pieces of yourself until there is nothing left of you. You become someone who is always there for others. But when you look around, you find yourself standing alone in your moment of need. It's not just about being kind, it's also about being kind to yourself. Mark would remind us that our first duty is to look out for our own well-being. Without this, we cannot be genuinely there for others. Consider the story of two neighboring gardeners, one of whom meticulously tended his own garden, while the other, despite having his own plot, often tended everyone else's gardens. The hard-working gardener, understanding the importance of self-care, nourished his garden with the right balance of attention and resources, resulting in a vibrant and blooming space. This gardener's land was not only a source of personal joy, but also provided a surplus of produce to share with neighbors. On the other hand, the gardener who gave disproportionately spent so much time and effort on the gardens of others that his own land was neglected. Without proper care, his garden withered and the harvest was meager. In their eagerness to be helpful, they overlooked their own needs, leaving their garden and, metaphorically, themselves depleted. Let this be a reminder to reflect before rushing to help others. Ask yourself, is this help sustainable? Am I preserving my well-being? The ancient Stoics would have encouraged us to practice Stoicism by setting healthy boundaries and making sure that in our desire to be kind, we remember to be kind to ourselves. After all, you cannot give from an empty vessel. In Stoicism, the goal is to maintain inner peace and wholeness while making a positive contribution to others, ensuring a balanced and satisfying life for both yourself and those you want to help. 2. Reciprocity has an expiration date. Generosity is a virtue that enriches our lives and the lives of those around us, but it contains the subtle trap of immoderateness. Stoicism, an ancient philosophy that still resonates in our modern world with its wisdom, teaches us a critical lesson about the limits of kindness. Offering help with an open heart is noble, but expecting the same measure of generosity in return can lead us down a path of disappointment. Life has a way of showing us that the good done today may be forgotten tomorrow. This is not a reflection of our worth or the value of our actions, but rather the natural course of human memory and gratitude. Consider the act of giving as planting a tree. You tend it in the hope that it will grow and perhaps one day offer shade or fruit. But nature takes its course: storms, droughts, and changing seasons. Similarly, when we show kindness, we must let go of expectations of direct return. Stoics, especially Epictetus, advise us to focus on our actions, not the results. Some things are within our control and others are not. He said this by reminding us that the joy of giving should come from the act itself, not the expectation of reward. Adopting this mentality protects us from the sting of unfulfilled expectations and teaches us emotional resilience, allowing us to remain kind and generous without feeling depleted or exploited. This does not mean that we should harden our hearts, but rather that we should strike a balance, recognizing the impact of our kindness as a reflection of our character rather than a transaction. In this way, we not only protect our peace of mind, but also cultivate a form of generosity that is pure, self-sufficient, and genuinely satisfying. This Stoic principle encourages us to give freely but wisely, making sure that our kindness enriches us regardless of the world's reaction. In your daily interactions, how can you apply the Stoic principle of giving without expectation? Think of a specific scenario where you could offer kindness or support without seeking anything in return, and consider practical steps you could take to make sure your generosity remains a source of personal fulfillment rather than depletion. 3. Requests received have no limits. Reflecting on history, it's amazing to observe the excessive services demanded by royalty, from dressing to personal hygiene, all performed by servants. Fast forward to today, and it is clear that people still have expectations of us, often asking for services that they could very well perform themselves. Stoicism illuminates this by teaching us the values of setting boundaries and embracing moderation. This ancient philosophy serves as a beacon to guide us through a sea of endless requests, allowing us to act with intention and preserve our emotional well-being. Stoicism is not about denying help, but about finding balance, making sure we don't lose ourselves by supporting others. Take, for example, the touching story of a mother and her adult daughter in a picturesque village. The mother cared for her daughter out of love to the point of preventing her independence. This dynamic continued until the unexpected death of the mother, which surprisingly became the catalyst for the daughter's independence. This story underscores a critical lesson. While our intentions may be pure, over-support can inadvertently stifle growth. Marcus Aurelius, the Stoic emperor, encapsulated this wisdom in his reflections. A person's task is to stand upright, not to be supported by others. This insight encourages us to cultivate self-confidence, promoting a balance that benefits all participants. Seneca, with his deep knowledge of human connection, observed, "Someone who begins to be your friend for the sake of benefit will also cease to be hers for the same reason." This serves as a powerful reminder of the need to nurture relationships based on genuine connections rather than transactional interactions. True friendship and support should not depend on what we have to offer, but on mutual respect and understanding. Stoicism teaches us to value ourselves not for what we can give, but for who we are, cultivating self-respect and authentic connections. Stoicism empowers us to embrace moderation, setting boundaries to protect our well-being while offering genuine support to others. By prioritizing our responsibilities and honoring our need, we not only maintain our authenticity, but also participate in more meaningful acts of generosity. This balanced approach to life and relationships ensures that we remain true to ourselves and our values, leading a life of virtue and fulfillment as we navigate through the demands of modern life. Remembering that being attentive to our own needs is not selfishness, but a necessary act of self-care. 4. Being perceived and treated as fragile. Stoicism teaches us a powerful lesson in inner resilience and self-control. It's about building an inner fortress, perfecting the art of self-restraint, and drawing clear lines in the sand that define our personal space. Over time, constantly bending over backwards for the sake of others can ironically lead to being perceived as weak. Without firm boundaries, we become vulnerable, easily exploited by those who see our generosity not as strength, but as an opportunity to be taken advantage of. This cycle of overexpansion and exploitation drains us, leaving us feeling unappreciated and overwhelmed. However, the moment we begin to say no with confidence, a change occurs. We are no longer the primary resource for every request or demand. This confidence conveys a new respect for ourselves, signaling to others that we value our time and energy, deserving their respect in return. Cicero, a scholar of Stoic philosophy, concluded this when he stated that what you think of yourself is far more important than what others think of you. By setting boundaries and practicing self-discipline, we not only protect our mental and emotional well-being, but we also demand respect from those around us. Remember, the power of saying no is transformational. It is a statement of self-respect and a testament to the respect you demand from the world. Embrace this mantra and watch it reshape the dynamics of your relationships, fostering mutual respect based on dignity and self-worth. Embodying this change, however, is not without challenges. Being always available often attracts those seeking help, leaving you out when it comes time to celebrate. This is a harsh reality where your openness can lead to exclusion from moments of joy, limiting you to the role of helper, absent during times of leisure. This realization, while bittersweet, serves as a test of discerning authentic connections from fake ones. It is a Stoic exercise in recognizing the true value of relationships, encouraging a conscious approach to who we offer our time and energy to. Did you know that practicing boundary setting, a central Stoic principle, not only improves our personal well-being, but also improves the quality of our relationships? It's a curious but true aspect of human psychology. When we respect ourselves enough to say no, we often gain the respect of others. This paradoxical effect emphasizes the transformative power of self-respect and the importance of discretion in our relationships. By embracing Stoic wisdom, we not only protect ourselves from exhaustion, but also cultivate relationships that are truly enriching and reciprocal. If you've learned something valuable so far, put a like to show your support. Now let's discuss strategies to avoid being taken advantage of by others and the dangers of excessive kindness. The first strategy is to get rid of the fear of saying no. Think deeply about why the word no often seems so hard, tracing its gravity back to early lessons that equated kindness with acceptance. These lessons, deeply rooted in our formative years, are paired with a fear of rejection, forming a belief system that links our worth to constant pleasing. It's about finding balance, making sure that our acts of kindness are not done at the expense of our own vitality. Remember that the strongest relationships are those where both parties grow, not those where one fades so that the other can blossom. Stoicism encourages us to find balance, forcing us to carefully evaluate our actions and their effects. It emphasizes the importance of maintaining balance in our generosity, encouraging us not to deplete our resources to the detriment of our primary goal of living a fulfilling life. On the other hand, he cautions against being overly cautious in our giving, suggesting instead that we use our generosity wisely. Seneca, a Stoic scholar, captures this ethical code perfectly. Kindness is a treasure. Goodness should be kept as buried treasure, to be unearthed only when needed. His words inspire us to be willing to act charitably toward others, recognizing the deep bond that connects all people. Thank you for watching this video, and I hope you find these tips valuable. Consider sharing it with those who need to view it and express your opinions in the comments section, as wisdom must be shared in order to blossom. As the great Stoic philosophers Marcus Aurelius, Seneca, and Epictetus taught, every moment of solitude hides a treasure of wisdom. In our time, we often view solitude as something unpleasant, running away from it like a terrifying shadow. However, in our increasing individualism, we overemphasize what directly affects us, creating a cycle of internal conflict. We find it difficult to empathize with others, yet at the same time we strive to be the center of their universe. The Stoics remind us that, although they say we move fast in solitude, we accomplish more in company. I agree with this reflection, but there is an important clarification. In order to build fruitful relationships, we must first learn to be in harmony with ourselves. The real journey begins with accepting solitude, exploring it when no one is watching us, and then joining with others to continue our journey. If you're wondering if it would be beneficial to go private for a while, my answer is affirmative, especially if you are not surrounded by people who inspire you. It's rare to find such people today. A period of solitude can be very enriching. We live in a hyper-connected age where feelings of loneliness are dissipated through social media and urban environments. Although we feel lonely, there is always a connection with others that prevents us from experiencing true loneliness. Unless we can understand it, we will continue to be held captive by others' approval of social expectations and the prevailing attitudes in our environment. Thus, according to the Stoics, we find in solitude not a curse but an opportunity for personal growth and reflection, a necessary step before we can genuinely share ourselves with the world. Of course, we cannot completely escape the influences coming from our biological programming, which has been critical to our survival for millennia. What we can do, however, is develop a critical mindset that allows us to evaluate the pros and cons of these influences and act in accordance with clearly defined goals. The goal is to minimize their influence in order to choose the best possible path. Nowadays, many people suffer from loneliness. This problem is particularly acute for the elderly, which significantly reduces the quality of life. I believe this is due to our refusal to accept death and our lack of empathy and responsibility to the older generation. But this is a broad topic that we will leave for another time. The fact is, many people who suffer from loneliness do so because they have not learned to be comfortable in their own company. They don't see loneliness as a gift. Instead, they see it as something negative. Instead of using this time for personal growth, they look for ways to escape reality and avoid suffering. Using alone time to quietly reflect on what is important to us, reading and acquiring new knowledge that expands our mental horizon, developing habits that bring us closer to a better version of ourselves, or working on a project with a purpose, are all critical to personal development and depend entirely on how we act when we are alone. In these moments, solitude becomes chosen solitude, voluntary moments alone with ourselves that we enjoy and use with a purpose in mind. This is the basis of personal development. If you learn to get along with yourself and be truly satisfied with what you do when you are alone, you will travel a path that few dare to explore. In addition, this inner labor will greatly improve your relationships with others, as they will be based on respect and mutual benefit rather than dependence. This applies to all kinds of relationships. If you do this work alone and grow as a person, you will become a better friend, partner, parent, boss, co-worker, and overall a better influence wherever you go. All because you are not emotionally dependent on others. You socialize with them because you enjoy their company, not because you're trying to compensate for your shortcomings. And I'm going to be very clear. I've met many people who are hard to tolerate because they can't empathize and don't realize their huge egos. By the way, put a like and subscribe to the channel if you like Stoicism. We have a lot of wisdom to share. In the search for self-esteem, people often become dependent on external recognition, a dynamic that leads to seeking the approval of others and ultimately to their exhaustion. They turn into people who extract energy instead of giving it, much like a mosquito that needs blood to survive. You probably know someone like this who only talks about themselves and never asks about you. They do this because they need that attention to feel good about themselves. People with healthy self-esteem, on the other hand, don't need to prove their worth to anyone. They tend to be more empathic and really know how to listen, which makes their company valuable. If you feel like you need improvement in this aspect, it's important to embrace and appreciate solitude, utilizing this time for personal growth. Given the hyper-connected state we live in, it's important to set aside a certain amount of time each day for personal growth. Remember that the most important relationship in your life is the one you have with yourself, so it's crucial to become an interesting and valuable person to yourself. I appreciate you watching this short but intense video on loneliness and hope you find these tips valuable. Consider sharing it with those who need to see it and give your opinion in the comments section, as wisdom must be shared in order to blossom. Comment, "I'm a Stoic and I'll know you've seen it through to the end." Now, which path of Stoicism do you choose, the right or the left?